Picture this. You're at a bar watching your friend talk to a woman you've been eyeing all night. He's average looking, his jokes aren't even that funny, and he's wearing a shirt with a coffee stain on it. But somehow she's touching his arm, playing with her hair, leaning so close she's practically in his lap. 20 minutes later, they're leaving together while you're still trying to figure out the perfect opening line. You go home that night and torture yourself with the same questions. What does he have that you don't? What's his secret? Why do some men seem to flip a switch in women's brains that makes them want to tear their clothes off while you're stuck in the friend zone despite doing everything right? What if I told you that your friend doesn't know any special techniques? What if I told you he's not consciously doing anything you couldn't do? He's just accidentally triggering psychological patterns that create raw, uncontrollable sexual desire in women. And what if I told you that once you understand these patterns, you can trigger them too, not through manipulation, but by becoming genuinely, authentically attractive? Let me destroy everything you think you know about female validation with one simple observation. A woman will ghost a guy who worships her and sends good morning text every day, but she'll blow up the phone of the guy who left her on read. She'll lose interest in the man who calls her beautiful every hour, but obsess over the one who barely noticed her new dress. You've been told that women need validation, and that's true, but you've completely misunderstood what that means. You think it means you should compliment her, reassure her, make her feel special. Wrong. Dead wrong. That's exactly how you kill her attraction faster than admitting you live with your mother. Women don't want validation. They want to earn validation from someone whose validation actually matters. There's a massive difference, and if you don't understand it, you'll spend your entire life confused about why being nice doesn't get you laid. Think about social media for a second. When a woman posts a photo, she doesn't get excited about likes from random thirsty dudes. She gets 10,000 of those. They mean nothing. But when that one guy she's been stalking, the one who never likes anything, who seems above it all, finally drops a like, that sends her into a spiral. She'll screenshot it, analyze it, tell her friends about it. Why? Because his validation is scarce. It's valuable. It has to be earned. And humans only value what they have to work for. This is why being a nice guy is so sexually repulsive. When you freely give validation to every woman, your validation becomes worthless. You're like a participation trophy. Everyone gets one, so nobody wants one. But when you're selective with your validation, when a woman has to earn your approval, suddenly getting you into bed feels like winning the Olympics. The cruel irony is that the more you try to make a woman feel validated, the less valuable your validation becomes. But the more you focus on your own life, your own standards, your own options, the more your validation becomes worth chasing. Women will literally compete for the approval of a man who doesn't need theirs. Every average woman has an army of simps in her DMs telling her she's a goddess. She's drowning in validation from men she doesn't respect. So when she meets you, if you're just another guy telling her she's beautiful, you're white noise, you're nothing, you're already forgotten. But if you're the guy who makes her work for your attention, who doesn't immediately fall for her looks, who has standards she has to meet, suddenly you're different. Suddenly you matter. Suddenly sleeping with you means something because not everyone can. The validation game has completely changed in the social media era. Women are getting more external validation than ever before in human history, but they're also more insecure than ever. Why? Because deep down they know that validation from desperate men means nothing. They know those likes and comments come from men who would say the same thing to any woman with a pulse. That validation is empty calories. It fills them temporarily but leaves them starving for something real. When you understand this dynamic, you realize why the traditional gentleman approach fails so spectacularly in modern dating. Your flowers, your compliments, your constant attention, you think you're showing interest, but you're actually showing desperation. You're communicating that you have nothing better to do than orbit around her, hoping she'll eventually notice your devotion and reward it with sex. But devotion without value is just desperation with a bow on it. This leads directly into something even more powerful: competition anxiety. Here's a truth that will completely flip your understanding of female psychology. A woman would rather share a high-value man than have exclusive access to a mediocre one. She'll forgive you for sleeping with another woman faster than she'll forgive you for falling in love with one. And she'll want you more when she thinks she might lose you than when she knows she has you locked down. You want to know why? Because for millions of years of evolution, The biggest threat to a woman's survival wasn't her man sleeping with someone else. It was him falling in love with someone else. Sex is just sex. But love? Love means resources get redirected. Love means protection goes elsewhere. Love means she and her offspring could be abandoned. This ancient programming is still running in modern women's brains. They can handle you having physical desires for other women. That's just biology. But the thought of you giving another woman your emotional investment, your resources, your genuine care, that triggers primal panic that bypasses all logical thought. When a woman sees another attractive woman laugh at your joke, touch your arm, or show clear interest in you, something primal activates. She doesn't think he's a player, I should avoid him. Her brain thinks, he's the prize, I need to win him. The competition doesn't make her run away, it makes her step up her game. Her attraction system is wired to value men that other women have validated. If other women want you, her primitive brain assumes you must have superior genetics, resources, or protection capabilities. In a tribal setting, the man who multiple women wanted to mate with was probably the strongest hunter, the best protector, the leader. Evolution programmed women to feel visceral attraction to that man. Pre-selection is the nuclear weapon of attraction. When a woman sees other women competing for your attention, her entire demeanor changes. The same woman who was giving you minimal effort suddenly transforms. She's initiating contact, making plans, doing things she doesn't usually do. But here's where most men fuck this up completely. They try to fake it. They talk about other women who don't exist. They make up stories. Women can smell this desperation from a mile away, and it has the opposite effect. Real competition happens naturally when you're genuinely building a life that multiple women would want to be part of. The paradox is beautiful. The less you need a specific woman, the more she needs you. The more options you genuinely have, the harder she'll work to be your best option. Security kills sexual tension. Competition creates it. This competition drive explains why women are often most attracted to men at the worst possible times. When he's in a relationship, when he's leaving town, when he's emotionally unavailable. It's not that women consciously want drama or difficulty. It's that scarcity and competition trigger ancient programming that says, this man is valuable, other women want him, I need to secure him before they do. Watch how differently a woman treats you when she knows other women are interested versus when she thinks she's your only option. When she's your only option, she has all the power. She can make you wait, test your boundaries, push to see how much you'll tolerate. But when she knows she's competing, suddenly she's on her best behavior, initiating sex, being agreeable, trying to lock you down. The same woman, completely different behavior, all because of competition anxiety. This is why the worst thing you can do is make a woman feel like she's won you completely. The moment she feels totally secure, the game is over. The excitement dies. The sex becomes routine. She starts looking for a new challenge. Not because she's evil or ungrateful, but because her attraction system is wired to value what she might lose over what she definitely has. Now here's where things get really interesting. Every woman you've ever met is fighting a war between her mind and her ovaries, and after age 24, her ovaries start winning. This isn't about whether she consciously wants kids or not. This is about millions of years of evolutionary programming that kicks into overdrive when her biological clock starts ticking. When a woman hits her mid-20s, her entire attraction system shifts. At 21, she could date the broke artist with good hair and a motorcycle. At 27, that same guy repulses her because her brain is screaming he can't provide for offspring. She doesn't consciously think this. She just suddenly finds stability sexy and calls it maturity. Watch how women's dating profiles change with age. At 22, love adventures and spontaneous trips. At 28, looking for something real with someone who has their life together. Translation. Her biological clock is ticking so loud she can't hear anything else, and she needs someone who can provide both superior genetics and resources. Now, this creates a brutal paradox. Women are simultaneously attracted to two different types of men that rarely exist in the same person. They want the alpha traits: dominance, physical strength, confidence, the ability to win in male hierarchies. But they also want provisioning traits: career stability, resources, emotional availability, long-term commitment potential. The alpha triggers their primal "this man has superior genetics" response. The provider triggers their This man can ensure offspring survival response. Young women think they have time to find both in one man. Older women realize they might have to choose, and that internal conflict drives them insane. A 35-year-old successful woman will fuck the 25-year-old personal trainer, but never introduce him to her friends. He has the alpha traits that make her body respond, but he lacks the provisioning capacity her biological programming demands. Meanwhile, she'll date the boring executive who doesn't excite her because he represents security. The biological imperative becomes even more intense as women approach 30. Suddenly, the same woman who spent her 20s finding herself and exploring options becomes laser-focused on finding a suitable mate. Her standards simultaneously increase and decrease. She needs higher quality genetics and resources, but she's willing to compromise on things she wouldn't have at 22. This creates a window of opportunity for men who understand how to position themselves. You'll notice women in this phase start asking different questions. Instead of, "What do you do for fun?" it's, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" Instead of, "Want to hang out?" it's, "What are you looking for?" They're not being calculating. They're being biological. Their body is flooding them with hormones that make them evaluate every man as a potential father, not just a Friday night. This is why age gap relationships often work when the woman is in her late 20s or early 30s and the man is older. He has had time to develop both the alpha traits through experience and confidence, and the provider traits through career development. He represents the complete package her biological programming demands. Meanwhile, men her age are still choosing between being the player or the provider, not realizing women want both. But beyond all these triggers, there's something even more fundamental. A man who isn't building something is dying. Not physically, spiritually. And women can smell that death on you from across the room. Every man who's ever made a woman genuinely wet was in the process of building something. His body, his business, his skill set, his empire, his legacy. It doesn't matter what. It matters that he's building. Because building is the masculine prime directive, and women are biologically programmed to be attracted to builders. Think about what building actually signals from an evolutionary perspective. A man who's building is future-oriented. He has vision, he has discipline, he can delay gratification. These aren't just attractive traits, they're survival traits that meant the difference between dying in winter or thriving for generations. The man who built better shelters, who improved hunting techniques, who created new tools, he's the one who survived and protected his tribe. That ancient programming is still running in every woman's attraction system today. This is why women lose respect for men who plateau. You got the promotion and stopped pushing. You built the body and stopped improving. The moment you stop building, you start dying in her eyes. Not because she's shallow, but because her primitive brain interprets stagnation as weakness. Women aren't attracted to what you've built. They're attracted to the fact that you're still building. The billionaire romance novel hero is still conquering new industries. The athlete she fantasizes about is training for the next championship. A man working construction who's building his own business on the side is more attractive than a rich kid spending daddy's money. When you're actively building something, everything about you changes. Your posture improves because you have purpose. Your eyes sharpen because you have focus. Your energy becomes magnetic because you're channeling testosterone into creation instead of letting it stagnate into anxiety. The modern world has tried to kill this drive in men. It tells you to be satisfied, to be content, to stop pushing so hard. Work-life balance, self-care, you're enough as you are. This is poison to your masculine essence. You're not meant to be balanced, you're meant to be building. Women understand this intuitively, which is why they're repulsed by men who've given up. The 40-year-old playing video games all day isn't just unattractive because he's lazy. He's unattractive because he's violating the fundamental masculine principle. He's not building anything, he's just existing, and existence without growth is death. The building instinct is what separates boys from men in women's eyes. A boy consumes entertainment, pleasure, comfort. A man creates value, structure, legacy. A boy takes what exists and uses it up. A man imagines what could exist and brings it into reality. This is why women test men with comfort and domestication. They need to know you won't stop building once you have them. They need to know your drive comes from within, not from trying to impress them. When you're building something meaningful, you don't have time to obsess over women. You don't have energy to waste on games and manipulation. You're too focused on your mission to be needy. This creates a natural abundance mentality that women find irresistible. You're not trying to be mysterious or playing hard to get. You're genuinely busy creating something important. That authenticity can't be faked, and women can sense it immediately. The builder's energy is what makes women want to support you, not distract you. They want to be part of your mission, not become your mission. They want to fuck the man who's changing the world, not the man who's waiting for the world to change. When you embody this builder's imperative, sex becomes a celebration of your vitality, not a goal you're desperately pursuing. Let's be brutally honest about what just happened here. I didn't just give you dating advice. I gave you the psychological source code that drives female sexual desire. These aren't opinions or theories. These are biological imperatives that have been driving human mating for millions of years. You now understand what 99% of men will never figure out. Women don't get wet for your nice guy routine. They get wet for validation they have to earn from a man whose approval matters. They get wet for men that other women want to fuck. They get wet for the perfect combination of dominant genetics and provider potential. And they get wet for men who are too busy building empires to worship them. These triggers aren't separate strategies. They're interconnected forces that create a sexual magnetic field around you. When you understand and embody all of them, you become the kind of man women lose sleep over. But here's what separates the men who will use this knowledge from the men who will just watch this video and go back to jerking off to Instagram models. Implementation requires you to fundamentally change who you are. Not fake it, not perform it, actually become it. You have to become genuinely valuable so your validation matters. You have to build a life that naturally attracts multiple women so competition is real. You have to develop both alpha traits and provider potential. And you have to stay committed to building something meaningful so you radiate that masculine creative energy. This isn't a quick fix. This isn't a pickup line. This is about reconstructing yourself into the kind of man who naturally triggers these psychological patterns without thinking about it. The kind of man who doesn't need to learn game because he is the game. Most of you won't do this work. Most of you will look for an easier way, a shortcut that lets you stay exactly who you are while getting different results. That's fine. The sexual marketplace needs losers for winners to stand out against. But for the few of you who are ready to stop consuming and start becoming, who understand that attracting women is just a side effect of becoming a high-value man, you now have the blueprint. The information I just gave you is worth more than every dating course, pickup program, and relationship book combined. Because while everyone else is learning techniques, you're learning the fundamental laws that make those techniques work. While they're memorizing lines, you're becoming the kind of man who doesn't need them. While they're performing confidence, you're building genuine self-worth that radiates from every interaction. This knowledge comes with responsibility. You now understand female psychology at a level that most women don't even consciously understand about themselves. You see the matrix, you understand the code, you know why they do what they do, want what they want, and feel what they feel. This isn't power over women, it's power over yourself to become what naturally attracts them. So here's my challenge. Don't just watch this video and nod your head. Either commit to implementing these principles completely, or admit you're not ready for this level of transformation. There's no middle ground. You're either building yourself into a man women fantasize about, or you're decaying into invisibility. If this video revealed truths you felt but couldn't articulate, if it explained patterns you've seen but couldn't understand, then share it. Comment below which trigger hit you the hardest. Which one explained your past failures? But don't just comment, commit. Remember, women are dying to sleep with men who understand their psychology. You now understand it. The only question is whether you'll use this knowledge to become that man, or whether you'll let another year pass wondering why she chose him instead of you. The clock is ticking. Every day you wait is another day you're not the man you could be. Another day women are choosing someone else. Another day you're living below your potential. The knowledge is in your hands. The choice is yours, but choose fast. Because while you're thinking about it, the men who took action are already fucking the women you're afraid to approach. Your move